Dear viewers, now we're going to continue our second part of the show. We're going to have the first guest today, Dr. Osama Alsmadi. He is a doctor in genetics in Dasman Institute, and we're really proud to have him today with us. Hi, Dr. Osama.
Hi, how are you doing?
Thanks for accepting our invitation, Dr. Osama.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
We've heard, Dr. Osama, you are going into lots of promising studies here in Dasman Institute. So can you tell us a little bit more about them, please? What are they? And
It'll be my pleasure. So here we are at Dasman, number of research teams dealing with diseases from different perspectives. My own area of interest is using genetics as a tool to understand diseases in Kuwait. And these are diseases that are affecting both society as well as families. And when we talk about society diseases, these are the chronic common diseases. Most prominently are the obesity as well as diabetes. And these are touching, as we know, a lot of homes and the overall country. We are also interested in looking at family diseases, and these include hearing loss because of genetic defects, kidney diseases, for example. We are also looking at those. And this is all important to families because these are diseases that we take from our parents. So this is the foundation of genetics. So really all of our genetic information is passed to us from our parents and grandparents, and we will pass it to our children as well. So genetics and health are really very well connected to each other, and that's our interest.
So why are you interested in genetics? What made you really like this?
Well, again, because of genetics is really holding the secrets of life, and it can tell and predict if someone is going to live healthy or may suffer from a particular disorder. So these are, generally speaking, important to everyone, but when it comes to individual, this is knowledge that you cannot predict except by doing real genetic research on a given individual. So it's not fortune telling, it's really based on science and technology and advanced knowledge and using tools that are all today available to us in Genome Center here at Dasman, and we are started a number of research programs to look at this, and we're happy to say we're really making good progress in this field.
Exactly. I think the knowledge of genetics, and it plays a huge role in not only knowing the disease, but also it might help us also how to manage the disease in a better way as well. So can you tell us about your research? What are the areas you're interested in?
Well, like started at the beginning, which is until this point, it's been near 4 years from building the capacity of research here at the Genome Center at Dasman Diabetes Institute. So we are, to begin with, looked at the chronic disease, which I started mentioning, which is diabetes and obesity, which are very well connected. We think, in fact, obesity is a risk factor for diabetes. So they are not separable from each other. So we took our first main study by introducing the research to the public. And we have interacted with the University of Kuwait and the Ministry of Health clinics, as well as patients who come here at Dasman for caring by the clinicians. So it was a matter of interacting with the society, the community, and we have managed to collect actually hundreds and hundreds of participants biospecimens from those, namely genetic material, by volunteering in this study. And we again look at complete genomic makeup of those individuals. And we take not only those with the diseases, we also worry about the ones who do not have the disease. So it gives us better understanding by comparing the genetics of those with the disease and those who without. And by comparing this will provide the knowledge we need, so we have better understanding why such diseases are touching Kuwait in this serious number of cases per capita. And we think by doing this good understanding, we will be able to offer, after explanation, hopefully some also therapeutics and some treatment options, as well as also for someone who's not sure what their future is holding, we will be able to give some prognosis, meaning we can predict the likelihood of someone is coming down with obesity or diabetes or not, based on their genetic knowledge,
That's
which is
amazing.
specific to those individuals and
very
cannot
good.
be drawn from neighbors or next country and so on. It has to be done here.
Dr. Osama, since you are focusing a lot on the chronic diseases, and you know there's a lot of people, maybe millions of people have been suffering from chronic diseasing, they are really hoping for a permanent cure for all these diseases. Is there any hope with genetic, corrections later on, maybe in the futures, of a permanent cure of all these kind of chronic diseases?
If you look at chronic diseases from a treatment point of view, the treatment, meaning therapy using drugs and medications, are absolutely one option, and that's beyond my personal experience as a researcher, and this is more of a clinician's experience who look at these chronic disorders. However, from a researcher point of view, understanding the disease, complexity of obesity and diabetes, as we know it is not, as now we know, is because of one single gene defect. It's really a number of
Multiple
genes coming together as being carrying certain variations in these genes that affect together this disease. So looking only from a genetic perspective, yes, it will provide some explanation, partial, but the treatment is, we share the responsibility, but I think there is also responsibility on the patient themselves. How that is meant, because these disorders, while we acknowledge genetics is responsible, but it's not the only responsible factor. There is a second part which is in us, which is basically the lifestyle we are holding, and that includes the diet we eat, how much we exercise or not, if we do other risk practices such as smoking or not. So all these together is really leading to what we see today. So we hope to shed some light from our perspective, but we will need also help from the society itself.
So what are the latest research that you've done or you're working on at the moment?
Like I mentioned before, so the first major study was this population genomic research on obesity and diabetes as combined disorders. So in those we have gathered nearly 3,000 with collaboration with partners here of participants from all over areas of Kuwait. We're looking at their complete genome. So right now we are in the phase of actually looking very focused analysis using, again, computational tools by looking at hundreds of thousands of genetic markers, not one, not two, hundreds of thousands, using the, again, technologies available as to here today. So we already have identified some risk markers we believe are holding. However, this kind of study again requires the participation of the society altogether. So we always depend on more and more participants to really join our research.
Yeah.
And we like to encourage the society to join us and not to be scared of research. Research is really not dangerous,
really
it's helpful.
Absolutely.
Something that is useful for them to later benefit from our findings, because this will be knowledge-based treatment and management of these diseases, which can only come through research. The second perspective, which has family disorders.
Yeah.
We already looked at a number of diseases, including immunodeficiency disorders, by collaborating with Kuwait University clinicians from there. We are also looking at kidney disorders, and we are happy to say we were able actually to identify specifically what is wrong in these families in terms of where is the defect in the genes responsible for these diseases. I can show, for example, here one example, perhaps we can, at this point, one of the findings, and I'll be happy to share that with the audience.
Very good. And what kind of, this is the image you want to talk about, so can you comment on it, please?
So this is just one diagram where we are trying to show some of our results by looking at a particular set of patients who happen to have immune disorders where they are unable to fight the infections from the first days of life. And those are patients who are compromised because of unable to fight infections, and we looked at the number of families who happen to have the same disease, and we were able to identify what's the genetic defect. And this happened to be carrying in one gene that is interacting with, as the diagram is showing, where there is a complex of proteins that are, of course, are encoded by the genes, and genes and proteins at the end are well connected. So this complex that is responsible for triggering important genes that are important for our immune system are defective. This whole mechanism is unable to actually, it's like a cascade chain reaction. And we are able to find a defect in these families because they are unable to form the important complex that is important for transcription of genes, as we say. So meaning translate these proteins, genes to proteins, and the proteins responsible for the functions that our body needs to fight infections through cells and antibodies, etc. So it's really, genetics is, we like to simplify it, but it's also is not a small science. It's really very deep science.
It's actually really complicated.
Yes,
and it's extremely difficult, but what you're doing is amazing, really. Have you published this in any papers?
Yes, in fact, this particular study has been published in the Journal for Clinical Immunology.
Yeah.
And people can look it up, if they care, or they can write to us later, and we'll be happy to share it. And this is important finding, not only because it also explains what is the reason for immune disorders these patients having, it's also happened to fall in a region important for also obesity genes. And you can imagine now how disease, infection, and obesity is suddenly connected because of some, locality in these genes that, exist in a certain part of the chromosome near each other, and this protein complex that happen to be defective is also controlling those obesity genes. And we think this is really an interesting finding where suddenly genetics can explain a lot of what we see, and this is only beginning to us, and that really holds a lot of promise for translation, to counsel the families, to use this knowledge for their relatives. They are able to be tested as a research facility, because we are, to be clear, also not diagnostic team, but we are research team. And our part is to bring knowledge, and then this knowledge will be used by the right authorities in the country to take it into patient care and management.
Now, the thing is, Dasman Institute are doing a lot of things, and they are, the leaders in this research. And of course, with your help and assistance, a lot of things have been done. Are there any other team members you would like to thank on the show?
Actually, I would like at this occasion to really present my thanks for the overall country that's really supporting us, the state of Kuwait, the leadership of Kuwait, and also to thank the Kuwait Foundation of Advancement of Science, who really been very generous and supportive to us. And we also want to thank the society who has been caring to really be part of our research, and we encourage them to even become more engaged, with us. So we are doing useful research. At the end, that comes back to their good health.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
It's my pleasure.
It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Osama. We wish you all the best in your research.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.